next speaker, Heather, is a transformation facilitator, workshop and retreat leader, and owner of Shifting Sands Holistic Healing. Her most requested talk, From Trauma to Triumph, inspires audiences to break the chains of generational trauma patterns by taking charge of their own healing. She is most known for her signature program, Meeting Yourself Again. So I'd like to welcome Heather McAbee to the stage.
I was raised in a religious environment that required me to honor my father and my mother. And boy, did my dad demand that I give him that honor. If they'd only known the things he did to me behind closed doors, there was nothing there that deserved honor. There's this thing about a child who's being abused by her father. She's so embarrassed and so ashamed that she hides it. If anyone found out the kind of person he actually was, who knows what would have happened? As a little girl, here are some of the thoughts that ran through my mind. Would they blame me? Well, some of the time it probably is my fault. I don't listen. I'm defiant. Would they believe me? This is a legitimate question. He's so charming and charismatic in public. So many people like him. What if it makes everything worse? He's already so mean. And if someone calls him out on his stuff, what if he takes it out on me even more? Or what if he takes it out on Mom again? There were times I tried to drop hints to teachers or friends, tiny comments, a written poem, a nervousness. None of them picked up on it, or at least they didn't let on that they did. When friends would come over, he was seemingly on his best behavior. But every now and then, his temper would slip out, and a friend would get a glimpse, and I would see the look of terror in their eyes. One girl didn't want to come over anymore. There were no words spoken about it, just simply a change of location for where we played. Looking back, that was one of my first conscious experiences of abandonment. There was nothing dramatic about it. It was very quiet. And in that moment, a part of me heard, when people see too much of you, they leave. I had already tried to hint to teachers. No one had stepped in. I watched my mom stay, even when I wished she would have scooped us up and taken us somewhere safe. So my nervous system started to wire things like being fully seen equals danger. Being fully me equals people leave. And if you believe that, you will do whatever it takes to make sure no one ever really sees you. At dinner, I would spill my water on the table almost every night, or at least that's how it felt. The second the glass tipped, his rage would explode. He'd scream at me and call me stupid. My hands would start to shake so badly that of course I would spill it again. It wasn't just one big horrific event that wired my nervous system, although there were plenty of those. But it was small moments like this, little accidents that became proof that I was wrong. Proof that I was too much, too clumsy, too stupid. I learned to be terrified of making a mistake, and so I took on the role of being a perfectionist perfectly. If I could just do everything right, maybe I could stay safe. Maybe I could be worth keeping. The ultimate result for me was a hiding. It was a masking or a facade that I had built on the outside. My appearance, my grades, my job performance. There wasn't a moment I would cry in public. The truth is, showing any emotion at all, positive or negative, became a struggle. On the outside, I looked like I had it all together. On the inside, I was a disaster. My greatest fear was that someone would get too close and find out who I really was, and then they wouldn't like me anymore. They would leave. And I already knew what that felt like. Trauma gets us stuck in a particular moment in time. In that moment, we make unconscious decisions about ourselves, about life, about men, and about women. Our unconscious mind might decide things like, life is unsafe, men are mean, women are selfish, I am not lovable, I'm not worthy, I'm disgusting. Those beliefs, plus the feelings and the body responses from those moments, start to quietly shape our life and our relationships in the background. Someone who experienced abuse as a child may look up years later and wonder, why do I always end up in destructive friendships? Why do I keep attracting abusive partners? Why does my life feel dull and unfulfilling? In my early 20s, I called a friend after my ex had screamed at me over the phone. I was confused and so tired of this. I said to him, how do these guys find me? It's like I have a flashing light on my forehead. His response to me was, you find them. It made me mad. But it was true. Put me in a room of 200 men, 199 good, one not. Guess who I'm walking out the door with? The reason why is because underneath it all, I did not feel good enough to be loved by a good man. I did not feel worthy of a happy and safe relationship. relationship. That little girl who felt abandoned by the adults who didn't protect her was now an adult woman abandoning herself, choosing people and creating situations that matched the story I unconsciously believed. A year after that phone conversation, I experienced date rape. And instead of telling anyone or seeking justice, I did what I had been unconsciously trained to do. I swallowed it. The questions in my mind started again. It was my fault I went out with him. He's a well-respected member of the Navy. What if they don't believe me? What if letting people know actually ruins my life? So I internalized all of the shame and guilt as my own. I continued following an unconscious rule that I had written as a child. If something bad happens to me, it must be my fault. And with every unspoken story, I abandoned myself a little bit more. I met my husband when I was 25. He was kind, responsible. He pursued me. He really liked me. It was almost uncomfortable how much he liked me. We dated for about 9 months, and I could not handle a stable relationship. I couldn't handle being with someone who really loved me. So I did exactly what I should do, and I let the abandonment play its card, and I broke up with him. There's this subtle pattern that happens underneath when there's an abandonment at play, and that is, I leave me first. How? I abandon my needs, I silence my truth, and I disconnect from my body. And then when someone actually comes along who is kind and steady and present, it feels wrong. So my nervous system went into full alert. A few months and many years later, somehow randomly we were engaged. That's another story. Fast forward to marriage, kids, building a house, pursuing careers. From the outside, I looked like I was living the dream. On the inside, I still found myself deeply unhappy with him. The truth is, I was living my marriage through the lens of my past hurts and through the lens of my mother's marriage. One morning, he got out of bed before I did and quietly left the house. My brain instantly spun into sadness because I knew he was meeting with another woman. In my mind, I built an entire story and a whole betrayal in the 30 minutes he was gone. When he came home, I asked him angrily where he was. He looked at me confused and said, I went to get a snow shovel. It snowed last night. In his mind, he was doing the responsible thing. In my mind, he had abandoned me. He was living our marriage through his childhood lens of how a man shows up at work and how he shows up at home. His programming plus my programming equaled me feeling alone, lonely, unimportant, and unloved. My husband was not my father, but my body didn't know that yet. So even with a good man, my dad's shadow was standing between us. I kept waiting to be hurt. And when there wasn't enough evidence, I filled in the blanks myself. I started stacking up every negative thing I could find. Every time he didn't read my mind. Every moment he missed for connection. Every time he forgot something that I told him. I was building this large case against him in my head so the pattern continued. I chose men who felt like my dad, and when I finally chose someone different, I treated him like my dad anyway, while quietly abandoning myself the whole time. Here are two uncomfortable truths I eventually had to face. When I reject my father, I reject half of myself. When I reject half of myself, I lack vitality. What does that mean? It means I don't have stamina. It means I don't have spirit. It means I don't have life energy. It means I don't have full joy. What does all of that equal? Depression and illness. For years, I thought the worst thing that happened to me was what he did to me. But there's another wound that rides alongside it. It's the little girl who keeps looking around the room thinking, isn't anyone coming? Isn't anyone going to see this and choose me? I felt abandoned by a whole system that didn't or couldn't protect me. And because no one came, I learned to do to myself what the adults were doing to me. I minimized, I explained things away, I stayed quiet, and I abandoned my own inner knowing over and over and over again. And here's something that I've seen not just in my life, but in so many others. Uncomfortable truth number 2. What we reject, we repeat. When I say, he's nothing like me, he's not my father, I want nothing to do with him, it sounds like I'm breaking free. But inside, that rejection does not make him disappear. It actually keeps him right at the center. I repeat him by choosing men who feel like him. I repeat him by talking to myself in the way that he talked to me. I repeat him when I turn his violence inward and abandon myself. The father I refused to see out there became the father living in here. So what do you do with a command like honor your father and your mother when your father is the one hurting you? I grew up hearing that verse as a rule. It was a requirement. I grew up knowing no one ever explained how you're supposed to honor a man who screams at you, humiliates you, and abuses you behind closed doors. So I made up my own meaning. For a long time, honor meant don't talk about it. Don't make him look bad. Be a good girl. Protect the image of the family at all costs. Honor to me meant silence. But if you look at that word honor in the original language, it doesn't mean pretend or enable. It doesn't mean erase yourself so someone else can feel powerful. It does mean to give weight to. To give someone their proper weight and their proper place. And for me, this meant something very different. What if honor meant I could stop making his actions light by minimizing them or explaining them away? What if honor meant I could give the truth of what he did its full weight? What if I could give him his place as my father, the man whose DNA is in my cells, the man whose choices shaped me, without giving him the power to define my worth? So now when I say I honor my father, I don't mean I approve of what he did. I'm not letting him off the hook. What I mean is this. I allow the weight of his choices to rest where they belong, on him, not on my shoulders. I stop carrying his shame and calling it mine. I give him his place as the giver of my life, and I give myself my place as the one who chooses what I do with that life. Remember those thoughts from my little girl brain? Maybe I deserve it. It must be my fault. If I tell, things will get worse. No little girl or boy deserves to carry shame from an unsafe caregiver. No child deserves to carry guilt because her mom might get bruises at after she tells someone her home is unsafe. All of that shame and guilt belongs to the perpetrator. To honor my father now as an adult, I can respect that his choices are his. I can stop trying to change him. I can stop carrying what is not mine. These are his destiny and his burdens. To respect my father, I can give him his place as my father and the giver of my life. And I can give that little girl her place as the one who survived, the one who sees clearly now. The greater the damage he caused, the greater the space he gets to occupy. And in that way, he gets to carry the greatest burden. To honor myself, I stop walking away from the part of me that knows what happened was not okay. I stop abandoning my truth. That shift, letting him be who he is, giving back what was never mine, and finally staying with myself, was one of the greatest sparks for my healing. There's a song by Luke Combs where he talks about a relationship between a father and a son. Any guesses? The song begins when the boy is little and he says, "Daddy, I'm afraid. Won't you stay with me a little while? I don't want to be alone." And his father tells him, "Whoo, here they come. Even though I'm leaving, I ain't going nowhere." I used to listen to this song and think about my kids and their dad. I'd think about my clients and their dads. Sometimes I would think, man, wouldn't it be nice to have a dad like that? One day I was driving, getting ready for a retreat that I was about to be hosting. I was considering all of the logistics and all of the emotions that I knew would come up for people. I was asking for answers and strength, and I was wondering, how am I going to hold all of this for everyone? And that song came on. At first, verse 3, his dad is actually dying, and he says, "Daddy, please don't go. I can't do this on my own. There's no way I can walk this road alone." And something happened. I suddenly felt my dad's presence behind me. It was not the abusive, raging, unpredictable dad. This was so different. He was large, he was supportive, and he was luminous. I could feel his arms open wide behind me. His chest expanded like he was big enough to hold more than my whole body. And in that moment, a weight lifted. I felt all of the strength I needed to keep preparing for the retreat. My fears melted away, and I burst into tears. For one of the first times in my life, I was receiving from him instead of rejecting everything that came from him. For hours, the tears didn't stop. I finally texted my teacher to tell her that I was confused by what was happening. How can a father who abused me in every way be standing behind me, supporting me in my mission to end generational trauma? Her response was, "Congratulations, you just created your own reality." I rewrote my relationship with history. I was letting the little girl put down what did not belong to her. I was letting the woman I am now receive strength from a place that used to only represent pain. It was another spark. Most of us in this room are carrying some version of, "I'm not enough. I'm too much. It's my fault. Something's wrong with me. If they really see me, they'll leave." Those beliefs quietly shape who we love, what we tolerate, how we show up, and how much life we allow ourselves to feel. We can't always change what happened. We can't always go back and rescue the little boy or the little girl that we once were. But we can stop carrying what was never ours, stop rejecting parts of us that come from people who hurt us, stop abandoning ourselves in the same way others once did. And we can allow one tiny moment, a song, a sentence, a realization, to become the spark that begins to change everything. If you feel a sensation in your heart as I'm speaking, if there's a part of you that's tired of carrying everything alone, maybe that sensation is your spark. It might not be the whole fire, but it might be the first glimmer that says, I'm willing to see this differently. I'm willing to stop carrying what was never mine. I'm willing to stop abandoning myself and reclaim my life. And that willingness might be the moment everything starts to change. I'd like to invite you now to share in a very simple practice. You don't have to share anything out loud. This is just between you and you. If it feels okay, get nice and comfy in your chairs. Feel both of your feet on the floor. Take a slow breath in through your nose and a gentle exhale out through the mouth. In through the nose. Sigh it out. Now bring to mind one thing you've been carrying that feels heavy. Just one. It might be a belief about yourself. I'm not lovable. I'm not worthy. It might be a role you've been playing in your family. Caregiver, victim, black sheep. It might be a pattern that keeps repeating in your relationships. Anger, sadness, loneliness. We're not here to fix it right now. You don't even have to understand all of it. Just notice it. Now, in your mind, ask yourself, is this actually mine to carry? Who or what might this actually belong to? There is no right or wrong answer. Just notice what bubbles up for you. If there's even a tiny sense that this weight is not fully yours, I invite you to imagine placing it where it belongs. Maybe you see yourself putting it at the hands of an ancestor. Maybe you see yourself setting it down at the feet of a parent or caregiver. Maybe you see yourself placing it gently on the ground between you and them, on the earth, where it can be held by something bigger than both of you. This is not to harm anyone. It is not to punish. You're simply giving back what was never meant to live inside your body. And as you do that, notice how well you are doing. You are not abandoning yourself. You are staying connected with your heart while you set something heavy down with love and respect. You are becoming the adult you needed, the one who sees you, believes you, and does not leave. If it feels okay, place a hand on your heart and say silently or out loud, I honor where I came from. I honor what they went through. And today I choose to carry only what is mine. I choose to live as the one who lets this pattern end with me. I choose to stay with myself. Take one more deep breath. Notice what you feel in your body, even if it's subtle. Maybe there's a small softening in your neck and shoulders. Maybe there's a little more space in your chest. Or maybe there's a clearer awareness of how heavy it has all been. Whatever that sensation is for you, that is your spark. You don't have to transform your whole life by the time you walk out of this room. But if you walk out of here carrying even one less ounce of what was never yours, and one more ounce of your truth, then this moment right here was your spark to heal. Woo! Thank you for being here.
Up next, we have Sandra Gebhardt.
So,
Many of you might have had a chance to chat with her while she was over at her table, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about her, and then I will let Melanie kick us off on our second to last fireside chat.
I love how you open up the envelope. I feel like I won an award.
I know.
That's so cool.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so Sandra is a nationwide speaker and marketing strategist dedicated to empowering individuals to embrace their uniqueness. Her TEDx talk, "You Are a Bit Too Much," inspires audiences to own their quirks and make an impact. Combining strategy with authenticity, she shares lessons from her entrepreneurial journey and teaches others to turn their too much into a superpower. Sandra believes confidence is a choice and provides the tools to claim it. Outside of her work, she enjoys chasing her adventurous 7-year-old, who is here. Where'd he go?
He's in the back.
Okay, there you go. I'll let you guys take it off.
Oh, thank you. I am so loving your tennis shoes, by the way.
Thank
Those
you.
are so fun. So I think that'll lead our conversation because you lead with authenticity, but you also use the word quirky. So tell us your story and how you got to where you are today.
Oh, thank you. For the next 2 hours, I will run you guys through one person's down for it. So the a bit too much is an interesting concept. With my mentor, somebody had reached out to me and they're like, "You should apply for a TEDx." And I was like, "Okay." And then I did, and I don't know who was in charge, but they picked me, and I was like, okay. Because I had this crazy idea I had shared with somebody, and I'll never forget telling my mentor, I'm like, "Hey, I got chosen for a TEDx talk." And he's like, "Awesome, is it on marketing? Is it on social media? What are you doing?" And I was like, "I called it a bit too much." And he's like, "Only you. Only you would do that." So the way that was born was, I remember clear as day in my messed up memories. I always say that. My mom's like, "That's not how it happened." I'm like, "Well, that's how it happened for me. It's in my memory." But my grandpa was coming home from work, and I was telling him all the stories about everything that happened that day. I used to spend the summers with my granny and grandpa. I started flying there when I was old enough to lie and say I was 6 years old. So at about 4, we'd practice, and I would say, "I am 6 years old," and I would get on an airplane and fly to New Mexico. And I was telling my grandpa all my awesome stories, and he's like, "Sandy, you talk a lot." And I was like, whoa. And I probably was 6 or 7 at the time. And that was the first day I realized I wasn't the center of the universe. It's hard to hear, right? No, now you guys know that I'm not the actual center of the universe. Darren, earmuffs. That's my husband back there. I remember just as I share in my TEDx and my book back there, shameless plug, that it was that moment forward where I tried to start talking a little less, and then you start to try to fit into that box that you're supposed to fit into, right? And I just never fit all the way into the box. And the more I tried, the more I would become miserable, right? And that's really how this journey had started. And when we're talking about the a bit too much, what people tend to get a little confused about is it's not a license to do whatever you want or say whatever you want or live with a chip on your shoulder. We all remember that one girl from high school, right? usually Stephanie. If your name's Stephanie, it wasn't you, unless you went to Shepherd High School, then you know who you are. But a lot of times people are like, I just have a big personality, and you're like, well, no, you're kind of an asshole, right? What it is, and what I always like to, can I do a little exercise real quick? Let's do an exercise. Who here has been told that they are too heavy? And you don't have to raise your hand if you don't want to, but I've been told I'm too heavy. Who's been told they're too thin? Ironically enough, I've been told that too, right? Leif, you could probably, right? Like, how many of us in the same lifetime have been told we're too heavy and too light? Like, it's just weird, isn't it, right? Who's been told they're too loud? Leif, you can raise your hand again. Who's been told they're too quiet? Right? So my question is then, and that's how this kind of started coming around, was what's the right size and volume? Like what's the perfect one, right? So that's how I really started exploring that after Darren and I got married, and he got a brain tumor. He's fine now. It apparently, the side effect is awesome beards. If you want to look at his beard. We were pregnant with Gage. We ended up having to sell our business, and we were fighting the brain tumor stuff. And I really started to try to figure out like who I wanted to be. And that's where the A Bit Too Much and thousands of dollars and mentors and Sandra Gebhardt marketing and all of that stuff was kind of built out of that same time.
Yeah, that's fascinating. The one thing that I keep watching today as people are telling their stories is you kind of blew through that piece of, well, you had a brain tumor, and you know, it's like we tell these lists of things that are actually all just super traumatic, really, but we just keep going and we just keep finding it. I hear in your voice like you were looking for that balance, or that trying to find that space that you belonged in, that you would be successful in. So did you find it eventually? I mean, do you feel like it's there now with what you're doing?
Yes, yeah. I really enjoy coaching on marketing, on digital media. I love sharing conversations with people. I hate small talk. Like, I'm the worst at small talk. But I love like learning about people and their stories and their businesses, and helping them feel comfortable in what they have to say. One of the things that I'm a little bit famous for is, I said it to somebody earlier, people are like, oh, sorry, my mom's calling me. Trying to be a grown-up, Mom. What were we talking about? Oh, saying I'm sorry. And I'm like, you're allowed to exist in the world. Like, I say that in, like, Costco. Like, people, oh, I'm sorry. No. Yesterday, somebody walked by me, and they're like, I'm sorry. And I'm like, you're allowed to walk down a hallway. And I just feel like it's kind of my calling to let people know you're allowed to be here. You're allowed to do stuff. You're allowed to walk through a door the same time I am. And that's something that I coach a lot on, is catching those things that we say. And when I talk about embracing you're a bit too much, usually what I found, and I'm not a therapist, but we have plenty on site, is the stuff that people lovingly told you when you were little that you're too much of. You know, you talk too much, you're too competitive. I'll never forget my granny, it's in the, spoiler alert, the book. I threw a no-hitter in my senior year. You guys can clap for me, it's kind of a big deal. I stole that from Mount Murray, I have to say that every time. And I was feeling myself. We went to Applebee's all the way from Shepherd, like it was a big deal. And I was like the server would come up and be like, do you want anything to drink? And I'd be like, yeah, I'm really thirsty, I just threw a no-hitter. And my grandma's like, Sandy, no boy's gonna love you if you brag about yourself. And that was one of the times that I did not shove myself in the box. I was like, okay. I was cool with that. And you can find those little moments in your life when you're like, okay, I'm cool with that, right? Like, I can take that feedback. You know, I'm the villain in a lot of people's stories. People that like small talk do not enjoy talking to me, because I'm like, what are your hopes and dreams, Mehmet? Like, what do you really want for Christmas, right? Like, I'm always going all the way in. So I'm like progressively getting sicker throughout the day, so I keep losing my train of thought. That happens sometimes too.
So you said you have a marketing firm, and so I can see you being like the best person to bounce marketing off of. Tell me how your story has transformed your business. Because how did you take what you learned and all of the things about being too much and repackaging that to be one of the best marketers probably in town?
Well, thank you for that lead into my second book, the black and red one. What I've taken a unique stance. So I hired this meth head, right, to be my first mentor. And there was a group of us that didn't know that he was a meth head at the time. So we all flew to Dallas and he took us to the hood and it was this whole thing. But we were all there. We all hired him together. We didn't know what to do. So we just started talking and coaching ourselves through this trip. And it was highly uncomfortable. I was the only female. I'm still usually the only female in a digital marketing room. And we came up with this really incredible system called the 5x5x5. And then I wrote the book on it. So that's what you might have heard me coach on, or I coach on a lot. And it is how to build relationships using Facebook. Who here's seen me on Facebook? Right? And usually I'm in Roundup. Right? I come to Billings a lot now. Gage goes to school here, but I've built a very successful marketing company simply off my Facebook presence. So the secret is to really find that unique voice of what you want to share to the world. What is your sparkle? You're a bit too much, those things you talk too much, or you're too driven, or you're too quiet. The quiet people need to be in the world too, right? So people will take a bit too much and they'll say, well, I'm really quiet. Well, that is your sparkle. Sometimes you are the calm in the storm that people need, right? You can't have me cracking jokes all the time. Sometimes we have to take things seriously. So if you can embrace that unique voice and then create those real relationships online, you can multiply yourself and create an omnipresence. That's why the stickers, which are free, are on the table that say I'm famous online. That's what we're trying to create, is that social media has given us this power that we can create businesses from the toilet. You can reach thousands of people while you're using the restroom. How powerful is that? I mean, really, if you think about it. So I hear people, well, I avoid social media because of the drama. Well, who's in charge of you? Right? Stop reading the dramatic stuff. I don't want people to say negative things about me. Well, they are. You just see it. In the last 4 weeks alone, I've been called racist. I was called an idiot yesterday. Actually, twice this week, I've been called an idiot online. And I'm like, okay, thank you for your feedback. I'm not currently accepting it. But my favorite thing about social media while you're going down these journeys is, remember the 90s? Who was there for the 90s? Talk to the hand because the face ain't listening. But then they would still talk to you. And you're like, no, but... And then you throw well, now you can block their ass. You call me an idiot on Facebook, I'm gonna block you. And now you're gone. If I see you in public, I'm I don't like you. I'm gonna walk around you. You don't have to shrink yourself. I don't have to go back and rethink my post because somebody called me an idiot, right? We're not here to make everybody happy. We're here to be true to ourselves and make those that are part of our core happy. That makes sense? Am I making sense, Toms?
I have to believe you were a little ahead of the curve on this social media. I'm guessing you were kind of one of the influencers at the very beginning or coming into that media. How did it change? Because you do have to toughen up. You're going to have to toughen yourself up if you're going to be on social media.
You just have to be willing to be in control of what you're willing to hear and what you're not willing to hear. Does that make sense? So, yes, when people call, not these people, they're idiots. So it's a 90, I'm you're rubber and I'm glue. It's the other way around, I think. Anyway, it's not trying to create this false persona, right? Where you're you can tell me my shoes are ugly and it won't hurt my feelings. Yes, of course it's going to hurt your feelings, right? When people say mean things, it hurts your feelings. But one of my mentors told me, and I thought he made this up. I also thought that there's a lot of things. My mom thought I made up the robot dance. Like, there's a lot of things that just, get confusing. But he told me once, what other people say about me is none of my business, right? So we all have had times where, like I said, like in some people's stories, I'm a villain, right? I'm the worst marketer in the world. I ruin their business, or they don't like my shoes, which is on them because my shoe game is tight. It's all different things, right? So it's not building that false fake skin, right? That's where you start. That's the kind of stuff that keeps you up at night. If you're thinking about what somebody said to you on social media at night, you really need to look into your mentors or your therapist and figure out, I am all over the place, you guys, bear with me. Mike Young told me once, the judgment that we put out into the world is typically the judgment that we feel the most in our heart is the judgment that we're putting most out into the world. An example of that is my son. We're very particular about his diet. Darren and I both have had weight issues. Our families have had weight issues. So we've been tried to be very, very clean with his diet. And when he was little, I was at the Walmart, and there was a kid drinking, it looked like orange soda out of a sippy cup. And I immediately was like, I would never, right? Anybody remember, like, you pre-kid, too? Like, that bitch, she was crazy, right? My kid will never have a tablet. That kind of stuff. I remember that, and then I caught myself, and I was like, what if that kid's diabetic? What if that kid's just having an orange soda? It's none of your business. But it's something that I was concerned about for myself. So when somebody's saying something about you online and you want to pull back, I suggest you go with somebody, not that one girlfriend that tells you everything you want to hear, right? Like, we all have, like, you're having a tough day, you want to hear you're awesome, you call the one friend, you want to get some tough love, you call the other friend, right? Like, find the person that you need to talk to about those things and really look at it and be like, is this, like, the people calling me an idiot? I was right, I know I was right. And I'm not racist. People can say that a lot on social media. All of a sudden, that's really coming out. But it's looking at the stuff that's actually keeping you up at night. Does that make sense?
So what's your third book going to be? Like, have you thought about what it will look like?
I do. I actually have a third book.
Oh, I thought you only had two.
You on a commission.
Yeah.
We actually wrote a book, Darren and I, to Gage has autism. So we needed to let him know, and I told Darren, I said, I think I'm going to write a book. Jessica Kramer gave me the idea. So I started writing this book, and it was just supposed to be something I printed off for Gage, but as I went through, it really turned into this sort of handbook for people that don't understand how autism works. And it turned out to be something so cool. Like, it's so cool when you just trust the process and what you're hearing and what you should be doing. And Gage really was getting bullied when he started in kindergarten, and I started handing the books out to his friends and put it in the library roundup, and I'm trying to get it into School District 2. If anybody knows anybody, holla at your girl. Mitch's conference, we had it there as well. And it turned out to be something like, I was watching 5 and 6-year-olds go through it, and their parents go through it, right? Because we hear a lot, oh, that kid's not disciplined enough, and a lot of that kind of nonsense. And then we hand somebody the book, and they're like, oh, okay. So it turned out to be really cool. Now, my next book is going to be the 5x5x5 with the AI component into it, because how awesome is AI? Used correctly, it makes your life so much easier.
So it sounds to me like part of your story is when things are put in front of you, you kind of lean into them. You lean into whatever it is and start to find the solutions. How do you help people that isn't their natural tendency? Like, instead of leaning in, they run away from, they've got something going on and they're like, oh no, I'm not going to deal with that. You sort of take the opposite approach of that. So how could you help somebody do that?
I like to find that common thread. So everything we're doing, there can be 5, 6, we just talked about this, so 5, 6, 7, 8 different things that we have going on, and then you need to do the laundry too, right? So I try to find those common threads and things and look at, okay, if I can connect these 4 things together, then that's just one thing that I need to get done. Now, I also have to give myself fake deadlines, because if something is due tomorrow, I will have it done by midnight tonight. So I am very much a procrastinator in that sense. So I'm competitive. I like to see what deadlines I can hit, what I can do. And this has been an interesting season, because this year I gave up the traveling across the country and speaking. So it's been a fun year of obstacles and hurdles and trying to kind of find my place in the Billings marketplace. Now that I live in Roundup, I think I said that, so we're coming down 4 or 5 days a week. And it's been challenging and fun, but I keep finding that common thread, right? Like, I met Mehmet. I feel like we've known each other forever now, but I met him, and I'm like, okay, downtown Billings, so how does that connect to this, to this, to this, and then how can I like to connect people together, too. So that's what I do. I always try to find those common threads, and everything really has a common thread back to your core beliefs.
So with this being a storytelling day, how did you decide you wanted to come and share your story with us? How did that come to be?
It's been really exciting learning about the resilient stories and what Danielle's doing, and then seeing again those threads, like getting to know Mitch. So how awesome is Mitch? He's not here anymore. I keep pointing at him. But where he was sitting, the way I met Mitch was at an event that Darren and I got invited to. It's the sober living one that Terry does. Shout it out if you know the name of it.
Yeah, Gratitude in Action.
Gratitude in Action. Leif, you get 2 points. And I walked up to him and I was like, hey, I like your shoes. You ever been beat up over your shoes? And then that somehow, I ended up meeting Mehmet out of that. Like, it's just this, or not Mehmet, Danielle. So it's just these little threads that lead through everything. And I've just fallen in love with what she's doing, and the journaling and all the cool stuff. So I was excited to be accepted to share all of this with you guys.
So I have one last question. What story will you tell your son about your journey and your life? What story will he know about you?
So I suggest a book that I actually didn't write, called The Alter Ego Effect. And you're not supposed to tell your alter ego effect, but I do what I want. And mine is Spider-Man, Peter Parker specifically, the Tobey Maguire one. And thank you. What we do, Gage is familiar with all of this as it is right now, but I believe that we're fearlessly and wonderfully made, and sometimes we have to get out of our own way. When the person reached out to me and said, you should apply for this TEDx talk, I thought, I don't have anything to say. And then all of a sudden I got accepted, and then I was like, well, I should go publicly speak somewhere. So I was the first TEDx presenter at the first TEDx in Billings. But we got delayed because of COVID. So I was like, okay, well, I should go talk somewhere. And just applied for an event at an insurance conference, and then booked 2 more while I was there. And then that ended up being, I've spoken at, I think, 68 industry events in the last 3.5 years. And the part of, when you take Fearlessly and Wonderfully Made and you combine it with Uncle Ben's, with great power comes great responsibility, that really is kind of my mindset, my mold. I didn't know that I was going to be such a good public speaker, and I feel like it's just been my calling to go and talk and say stuff and help people where I can.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us today and for a wonderful conversation.
Sandra, this was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
All right, our last award envelope of the evening here. Our last speaker is Phillene. Phillene, if you want to make your way up here. Phillene Whiteman is a Northern Cheyenne tribe member from Lame Deer, Montana. She's celebrating 13 years of sobriety after struggling with alcoholism, homelessness, and trauma. And since her sobriety date of March 6th, 2012, she graduated from Montana State University Billings and became a licensed addiction counselor, currently offering services in private practice. She also supports local rehabilitation centers through prayer, smudging, and cultural guidance. Her motivational speaking emphasizes the importance of cultural teachings, particularly the medicine wheel model in guiding recovery. Welcome, Phillene.
Thank you for being here with us today. Fascinating story. And so, tell us a little bit about how your life was in your earlier childhood and how you kind of got to where you are today.
So, I am part of the Northern Cheyenne Reservation here in eastern Montana. I grew up there. I had a fairly big family. I was the youngest of, 8 children. And so, kind of early on, growing up, I knew I was different. I think coming from the LGBTQ community, it's trauma. It's traumatizing. There's a lot of shame in it. I always say I was the most diverse person that you can meet. Being from the LGBT community, being Native American, and being a woman. Growing up on a reservation. It's just, somebody was talking earlier about generational trauma. And so I carry a lot of, I understand it now. Before I didn't understand it. My parents were, raised me well. I was born in a very safe home. My parents were really into their culture. So I also learned that I'm Gen X, I'm from the Gen X. We're supposed to go out and learn white man's ways. And so really not learning too much of my culture at the time. Really not learning my language. I grew up immersed in my language, like somebody could speak fluent Cheyenne to me and I can tell you what they're saying and what they're talking about. But I speak it very little. And so I grew up seeing things on the reservation that I always say, oh, I'm not gonna do that, that's not gonna be me. But, you know, just seeing things and fast forward, having an addiction that I didn't know I had, which really brought me to Billings. I didn't plan on coming to Billings. I was here because of my trauma.
So let's talk a little bit about that. How did it bring you here for treatment? Was that the first experience you had coming to Billings?
So our reservation is a dry reservation. And so access to alcohol and drugs, we have to go to the bootlegger because we live out of town. There's so much more to it that how many's walked through drove through a reservation? How many of you see a lot of people walking on the side of the road? And so we have to walk. If we don't have a vehicle, we have to walk to get the things that we need to get. It's dangerous, especially along that Highway 212.
Yeah. So when you realized you had an addiction, what was your next step? Did you live in it for years, or were you immediately aware of it and got some assistance?
I didn't realize that I had full-blown alcoholism addiction at the time because I was the one that said I didn't have a problem. I could quit whenever I wanted to. What brought me to Billings was I just came up here with some friends and realized just how easily accessible that alcohol and drugs were. It was like a whirlwind. I couldn't tell you exactly what part, when and where it happened. But one day I just remember coming to, I was downtown Billings, I was homeless, I had lost my kids, I had lost, both my parents passed away. I just remember standing, and it was winter time. I just remember standing underneath a street light, looking up and seeing the snow falling. And I was standing with a group of homeless people, and we were sharing a bottle. And I was like, how did I get here? Like I remember asking myself that, and that moment was like, how did I get here? I don't know. It happened so fast and so quick. But today I understand how I got here.
So, how did you get help out of that? Was it in that moment that you realized I'm going to need help and I'm going to need people around me, or did you live in denial for a little bit longer? What was the moment that you decided to get some help for your addiction?
March 6th of 2012, I was at the crisis center. Prior to that, I was in and out of Yellowstone County Jail, just in a detox center, living on the streets. I was the person that you see me coming, because I was going to ask you for $1, I was going to ask you for money. The person that you walk away from that downtown, that was me. But March 6th of 2012, I was at the crisis center, and I was having full-blown DTs. I could see my mom, who had passed away. I could see people who had passed away, and they were talking, and they would look over at me. I was laying on my mat, I was hanging onto my blanket, I was shaking. There was a little girl sitting next to me that was pulling on my blanket, and I was having DTs. In my culture, right when we're getting ready to cross over, our people come and they take us over to the Milky Way. And so I was thinking, I think this is it. I think I'm gonna die. And I just remember hearing somebody scream, not realizing that was me. And then I ended back up in the ER. I kind of, at that point, I was between the ER and the crisis center. And I just remember having this conversation with the Creator, thinking, okay, if I have to do this life sober, then show me how to do this. Because I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to make it 24 hours without a drink or getting some kind of high. And so it was on that day, and I can't say there was flashing lights, and I can't really tell you what put a finger on it, but something changed in that moment. And I stepped out of my own way, and I allowed the Creator to come in and start working. That first year of my sobriety was really, really, really tough. It was really, really hard. I had at the time, I had a baby. He was only 8 months old when they took him, when the CPS had to intervene because my lifestyle just wasn't safe. I had 2 older sons who were my sisters were raising. And so every role that I had, I abandoned. And so I had been drinking for a long time. I missed my kids' high school. Literally their high school. My baby was like going on 2 when I finally sobered up and I lost custody to him at the time. So I was angry at the world. I was self-destructive. I was suicidal. And I think just realizing that in hindsight, when I look back, when I was waking up on the streets, the Creator was there. Because obviously, I wouldn't be sitting here today. Thank you.
So I hear this story about how hard it was, but I also know that you're now doing wonderful things. And so can you talk to us about that transformation for you now to be helping people and really moving them along, similar to how maybe some people helped you at some point?
I was about 1.5 years sober when I realized that if I could do this, I want to be able to help somebody else do this. And so I went to MSUB, and when I was in high school, I don't know how I did it, but because of detention, I think, I was able to read and retain some knowledge and get my work done so I could graduate. So when I walked onto the campus of MSUB, something was telling me, there's always that little voice talking to you all the time. that said, this ain't about you. This is about helping others. So when you walk onto this campus and you ask them, how am I going to do this? How can I help others? You're not doing it for you. You're going to do it so this way you can go back home and you can help. Or you can help wherever you need. Wherever I take you, this is not for you. This is for them.
So tell us a little bit about the work that you do now around the LGBTQ community and what that is like, because many of us aren't familiar with that work, and so how does that guide you?
After I graduated, I got into the organization works here in Billings. I've worked for New Day. I've worked for Billings Urban Indian Health and Wellness Center. I've worked for the Mental Health Center, which now is Bridgestone. Just working with a diverse group of people on the clients that I had to work with. There's something that I do that I've learned early on. I've learned that culture is medicine, as my t-shirt says. So culture really is medicine. I had to go back and really learn about what my people have been through. I had to learn about the whole history. And I've learned about a lot of neuroscience. I'm a huge fan of Dr. Bruce Lipton, who does a lot of amazing research at the molecular level. And so just learning about our environment, how important our environment is, I'm able to teach my clients about healing at the molecular level and all the other really cool, amazing things that we learn while we're in treatment.
It's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your story today. I'm thinking I'd love to know what your next chapter is. If you were writing a book about your life and about your story, what do you think the next chapter brings you?
Well, recently I've just I've started my own private practice, and it's hard. This is really hard. If you don't have a 401k, you haven't been saving up for this moment. It's really hard financially to do this, but I have full faith that I'm being guided, and so far we talk about community. Billings is an amazing community. They literally wrap their arms around you and help you. And so I have some really amazing colleagues that said, come on, Phillene, come on over here, and you have a vision, and your vision is same as ours. The holistic approach to healing, when we're gonna look at everything, we're not just gonna look at the addiction part, the drinking and drugging, we're gonna look at the core of the problem. And so and I'm gonna use the medicine wheel model to help. And this medicine wheel model is not just a Native American thing, this is a human thing. And so my next chapter is to get my private practice off the ground. I want to go back to school and get my master's program. So I don't have money for that, but somehow I'm gonna apply for the University of Montana in Missoula. I want to do online courses so I can. I think there's more to this. I just feel like there's more that I can do in my private practice, and I'd like to be a motivational speaker. I would like to go around and I've done some speaking gigs. I've gone to the Paiute tribe in Nevada, and they said, you do a really good job speaking to our teenagers because they have a really high suicide rate. They really took to your story and how you interacted with them. You should do this. I was talking over at Rimrock Foundation recently, and one of the ladies came up to me and said, have you done a TED Talks? I said, no, that's pretty scary. But no, I got to challenge myself, as I am doing right now, challenging myself to speak with you guys.
Well, we really appreciate your time today and sharing your story with us. And I have a pretty good feeling that you're going to impact a lot of people in a really positive way in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.